I would say, dear participants, welcome to fifth generation district heating and cooling industrial alliance kickoff meeting. I will share my screen. So yeah, my name is Anna Bronzes. I'm from Open Universiteit, which is located in Heerlen in Netherlands. Open Universiteit is a partner, one of the partners in DITOGRID's project, where actually this industrial alliance is launched. And today we have prepared very interesting and diverse, I would say, program for you. We will start with introduction to fifth generation district heating and cooling industrial alliance. Then we will present, Herman Adams will present a fifth generation district heating and cooling principles and KPIs. My colleague Evgenia Buena Martinez will introduce market transformation potential of 5G DHC. Our special guest, Marco Wirtz, will talk about NPRO, the planning tool for district energy systems. And Geert Moermans will introduce 5G DHC best available technologies catalog. We will also have time after all presentations for a short networking activity, and we will end up with Q&A session. Okay? So let's start with the first topic about fifth generation district heating and cooling industrial alliance. I think it's quite important for our new participants and members to know what is it, like where are they joining actually. So fifth generation district heating and cooling industrial alliance is an association of organizations and companies who qualify with their products and services to 5G DHC technology and are brought together to support further optimization and rollout of 5G DHC. The aims of this industrial alliance actually to bring together all the industries to work together and develop products and standards for 5G DHC. Of course, in this alliance, we would like to share knowledge and identify opportunities for 5G DHC. Also identify needs and barriers for 5G DHC and work with different stakeholders to improve market conditions. Okay. What do we expect from the members of this industrial alliance? Of course, if you are joining to this industrial alliance, we would like to ask you to uphold and support the objectives and key principles of 5G DHC. We would ask you to devote some time, resources, and efforts to participate in the meetings quarterly. Work together with other members on new ideas and solutions to 5G DHC. During the meetings, please exchange your experience, which means inform participants what you are doing in your company related to 5G DHC, and also stay informed about what others are doing. Improve the market share and competitiveness of 5G DHC solutions, so collaborate on optimization and further development of 5G DHC technologies. And of course, disseminate the knowledge about 5G DHC at national, European, and I hope also at international level. In return, what this industrial alliance actually will give you, of course, networking platform. You will not be alone if you would like to build 5G DHC technology. So you will get support of the members and of course, contacts. It's really easy to find contacts here. There is opportunities for new markets, so easy to find products, developers, and service providers. So actually today, even in this meeting, we have grid owners and operators who would like to start building 5G DHC, and we have product developers here who can actually match this demand. There will be opportunities for new tenders, projects, and fundings. Knowledge, of course, sharing knowledge and latest experience, be aware of all challenges. So we also have among the members universities who would like to conduct also research and provide the 5G DHC solutions here. And cooperation, so work together to improve 5G DHC components and build new products. I would like also to point out, so the membership in this industrial alliance is free of charge. Of course, upon the members will decide something different. So currently, you're welcome for free. What media channels do we have? So we have LinkedIn page. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that because we will share all information in that page. But also you can visit 5gdhc.eu website. And on this website is a project website. We have special dedicated place for Industrial Alliance. And later we will ask the members of Industrial Alliance to provide us a good quality logo and short information about their organization so we can post some information in this page. Okay. So before we will go to the next speaker, I would like ask all participants to take out your mobile phones or actually, also join from the computer. Here is the link, but my colleague Evgenia maybe also can share the link in the chat. So just scan this QR code and you will be directed to the Padlet page where I would like to ask you to answer the question. What topics are you interested in for discussion during 5GTHC Industrial Alliance meetings? So if we know your preferences for the topics, maybe we can arrange some interesting discussion for the next meeting, considering your interests. So please scan this QR code or also go to the link and leave your answer. I will also share the page just in a couple of minutes so you can see that answers are coming. Okay. Okay. I will stop presenting.
Just to clarify, if someone doesn't know how to use Padlet, there is a plus sign on the corner in the on the right side, the bottom, and that's how you add questions or text box.
I will stop presenting this page and actually show you how the Padlet shows. Okay. So this is the Padlet page. This is how it's supposed to look from inside. And I can see some responses coming. So I will give a couple of minutes for this, but we can also continue to provide your responses during the speech of other speakers. Okay. Very interesting topics coming up. I think it will be very exciting to organize such sessions. Best practices, mistakes to avoid. Yeah, there could be some experience coming from DataGrid's project, actually. Optimization of 5GTHC operation. Okay, development of heat pumps dedicated to 5GTHC. Different technical solutions, commercial models, research opportunities. Tools for screening, planning, and operations of grids. Yeah. Okay. I can see the responses are still coming, but to be perfectly in time, I would like to ask our next presenter to continue with his speech. And of course, you can keep posting your responses to the Padlet page. So I would like to give floor to Herman Adams from 3S Consultancy to present 5GTHC principles and KPIs. Herman, floor is yours.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Anna, for introducing me. My name is Herman Eidams. I'm working from a consultancy now, but I was the former Director of Innovation and Strategy from Mijnwater in Heerlen. And we were initiator of the D2Grids project. Actually, I'm giving a short introduction. Some of you will know this, but we thought for the newcomers it was good to have just a kickoff and explain where we got in this project and where we stand in thinking about fifth generation. Actually, if we looked a few years ago, we saw the development and this nice picture from Aalborg showing that we go from first to fourth generation. And actually, one thing really strikes your mind that it's all central-based heating and cooling systems. And there are some arguments to go central-based. Mostly we hear that it's cheaper if you make it bigger, and it's also end consumers don't want to change their buildings. They don't want to go to low temperatures. So you should provide high temperatures in a district heating system. But there's also some disadvantages from central systems. And one of them is that you are dependent on the weakest point in your grid. So if one building in the city is very bad insulated, you will still have to give these high temperatures. And you cannot adapt to these end user modifications, which will happen all the time. Actually, you don't know when they need heat. So you are delivering heat 24/7 hours a week at the front door. And if you look at this picture, you see some feature for cooling, but cooling is not integrated in this concept. And if we look into development of grids, you see different ideas. On the left, we have the centralized grids, and we know them. Many grids started decentralized, also in IT sector, where we had the big mainframes, and everybody was connecting to the central point. And now we see that, like IT sector is going to a cloud system, so we have many dots, many nodes in the system. You also could call them hubs or energy hubs who are interacting and feeding the bigger system. It's always not black and white. It's most grids and systems that we see are the B type. They are somehow decentralized, but they do have local support, and that could be local green sources, that could be local storage, and which makes that you are not operating only from one central point. Actually, as a starting point, we had the grid, which was developed in the city of Heerlen, and it looks more or less like this picture. You see that we only use electricity in this grid, which was an advantage because now we want to phase out fossils and natural gas. We had a very big buffer, which was the Mijnwater reservoir, feeding that system on the backbone. And we had two temperatures, 25 degrees Celsius for the warm pipe and 18 for the cold pipe. And then if you feed those pipes and you go to a building, and this building has a decentralized heat pump station, what we do actually there is that if they need heat, they will give cold back. So this heat pumps, substations, they are connected two-sided to the grid. The one side to the warm pipe, taking heat, and the other side to the cold pipe, giving cold back. Which actually means, if you follow the loop, that if you take out some warm water and replace colder water back in the cold pipe, that you are improving the thermal quality of your system. If you go to the next building which needs cooling, then you will take cold water and you will re-inject warmer water back in the warm pipe. It has a number of advantages. I already said we don't need fossils anymore. We can do this fully electric, and also we can shift peaks in electricity and we can reduce the amount of electricity. We can take the gains, low temperature gains from industry back in the system. Also, if we have like solar collectors or other green local features, we can share this energy on the grid. We see that we do have if we go to new buildings, offices or dwellings, then we do have a big, rather big cooling need. So if this cooling need could be like 35% of our total thermal demand, and then you can re-inject it in the system, then you only need 30% from outside in the best case. Still, there is some buffering in the system, and that's not only the big city buffer, but also local buffering to exchange this heat and cold. And what we see is that we get very good performance of our heat pumps because they have a very powerful source, and they reach high COPs and also low maintenance and high lifetime of operating. Actually, when we started this project, we thought, must we do copy-paste what we build in Heerlen to other locations in Europe? And we said, well, actually not. It's better that we start thinking why we did this thing in Heerlen this way. And we came up with 5 principles. And these principles are ideals. So it's, and none of them you will reach for 100%, but you are working towards it and nobody is against it. That's the nice thing. So the first point is to close that energy loop, and that's actually what I said. I use the backside down, blow away heat from your roof or cold from your roof, bring it back into the system as much as you can. Use low-graded sources, the second one. So why burn flames of 1000 degrees if we only have to lift that building for 10 or 15 degrees in temperature? The third is go decentralized and demand-driven as much as you can. And we see losses of, it's an average like 25% on high-temperature heating grids. And in summer, even it could go up to 60, 70% for domestic hot water. So you can get quite some nice savings by working decentralized and demand-driven. And then we have 2 more principles which are actually a bit different in character. If we look in the total energy of a country demand, you see different sectors. And if you can link those sectors like transport with buildings or agriculture or industry, then there could be big gains. So we want to approach this energy question for buildings also from the bigger picture of integrating energy flows which are coming into a city or coming into a built area. And then as last, we hear a lot about windmills on the North Sea and maybe PV panels in the Sahara. That's fine, we might need them, but if it's in your backyard, start looking what kind of energy you have in your local area, and then if you need more, then you always can go further and take it from further away. From those principles, we have been thinking, well, first what you need to do, and that's could be an important thing, you have to fix your system boundary. So if you want to quantify how good you are doing on those principles, then you must know what are you looking at and where can you get easy data, because that's also a point. If you energy can get very complex, but if you have a good system boundary, data could be easy to get. And then we had a session and we tried to bring these principles into formulas so that we can formulate KPIs and we put a number on how good you are performing. Actually, you could go further and put a weight factor on it and even put a 5G label on that. And it has 2 reasons to do that. The one is that the label could be an assurance for quality. So you don't have to check every different point in the system to see if it's well done, but the label will ensure you that you will get to a good performance based on thinking of 5th generation. But the other thing, and that's in the left corner down, actually what you want to do is from this kind of measurements that you can find out what is good measures to improve the system. So should I add storage or should I add solar panels, and what kind of actions would improve your system and bring them closer to those principles. Of course, monitoring, and that's also very connected to the system boundary. And then I get back to some of benefits of this fifth generation. So if you have decentralized installations, you will get the opportunity to connect when the building is ready. So even in the building process, if you build up, you build up those systems bottom up. If you have connections like 100,000 square meter of buildings, you can start the system and then you can grow from bottom up. And actually, if you have those end consumers and you don't need 10,000 of them before you start it, and you will get your money quicker if you start small. There can be substantial heat gains achieved from those low temperature sources. We know that we have about 3 times the amount what buildings need, which is wasted as waste energy, just dumped into the air or in the water. And of course, cooling integrated in this system. Then I have a number of benefits, and this comes from scientific papers, and actually they are confirming that those systems, if you go to 5G, that they have much better performance, even in regard to shifting from third to fourth generation. So we see that that you could reduce the amount of electric energy by like 40%. That you could, if you go from 3 to 4, that you find savings of 5%. But if you go to fifth generation, that those savings could be 40 to 56% on carbon and on costs. Actually, we do have a number now. A lot of papers are coming up, and I think one of those things in the Industrial Alliance could be that we make a library where you find this kind of scientific studies and papers showing you these results and showing you good examples. Also, there's some barriers that we are facing, and I think one of the most important barrier is how can we speed up the process. So it's a very long time process, and if we want to get somewhere in 2050, I think one of the main things is that we look into ways how we can speed up, and certain things there also has to do with this alliance, that you go into standardization, go into industrialization, that you go to plug and play solutions, and that you go to foolproof solutions, which is all speeding up the process. And avoid hindrance as much as you can, because it will give you resistance if there is a lot of hindrance. Well, actually, this is some prizes we won. I always like to show that, and this is more interesting. We have a few links to different European projects where you can click and see what's happening there. And the website of 5G DHC. Anna, that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman. And I think it's a perfect idea about organizing the library. We have room to share this on our 5G DHC EU website. And also, I would like to mention that if you would like to learn more about 5G DHC principles, but also KPIs, we have a training. 2 courses created at OU ULearn platform. I'm going to share in the chat links to these 2 courses. So when you have time, just have a look and you can complete these courses and get more knowledge about 5G DHC. With this note, I would like to give words to our next speaker. It's Eugenia Bueno-Martinez, a thematic expert from OU, but also who is working in D2GREE's project. So Eugenia is going to present a market transformation potential for 5G DHC. Eugenia, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Anna. Let me share the presentation. I hope everyone can see that. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, hello everyone. Like Anna just presented me, my name is Eugenia. I'm project coordinator on energy transition at Open Universiteit. Actually, what I will be presenting today is is the outcome of one of the deliverables of the D2Grids project, and the presentation was actually developed by my colleague, our colleague at D2Grids, Jeroen from Stroomversnelling. He unfortunately couldn't be here today, so I will just take over for him, but all grades for the presentation go to him. Yeah, like I said, we made a study in the D2Grids project for the market transformation potential of 5G in Northwest Europe in particular, with the timeline until 2050. So a little bit of context in the EU, the energy, heating and cooling market accounts for 50% of the total energy consumption, of which only around 8% is renewable energy sources. So there is a little bit of improvement room there. So the heating and cooling sector are obvious targets for this renewable energy transition, and the 5th generation district heating and cooling presents like an excellent solution, like Herman just demonstrated, for decarbonizing the heating and cooling markets. So what we did in the project is look at the question of what is the potential market for this technology, and that's where we're gonna go into now. For this, we actually looked at existing studies in Europe. This, for example, we have looked at other outlooks. This is from Roadmap, Heat Roadmap Europe, which is also a European project. This shows that in the future we will still have a lot of energy heating demand and actually increasing cooling demand. It's not a lot, but it's increasing. And when you look at how this heating demand is now supplied, you see that actually district heating is only around 10% of the total supply in Northwest Europe. And of course, natural gas is the most used. There is also oil and electric biofuel and other, but district heating is quite low percentage still. And in the future, we do expect it to rise. So to do this study, we looked into the looked at 3 different options to increase the 5G DHC market potential. So first of all, when we start, we looked at the first option is the conversion of existing traditional heating, district heating, so 3G and 4G, third generation and fourth generation, to transform those existing ones to 5G. Then we also looked at third and fourth generation systems that are not in place but are expected to be built in the next years. And instead of that, building them as 5G. And then the last option would be the systems that are not expected to be built as fourth or third generation or traditional district heating any generation, and also not existing ones, but the ones that will be from the beginning planned to be built as 5G directly. So with these 3 options, the question was what would be the percentage of these different alternatives. And for that, we had an expert group at the D2Grids project, composed by several of the partners who work with district heating and also have been working for several years with 5th generation district heating. These are the percentages that came out of that study. And finally, these are the results. So the share of 5th generation district heating and cooling in the district heating market would be around 40% by 2050, and in the total heating market would be only around 15%. So this might not seem very optimistic potential market, but do take into account that this is from the total heating market. So it's still quite a lot of investments and quite a lot of opportunities. And we also did take a more conservative approach. We took a more toned down and more realistic, moderate and safe view for this study, so for these projections. So actually, I wanted to end this with a question of open a little discussion here, because we made a relatively safe estimation for this, and we wanted to know what you people from the industry actually think of this percentage. 15% in by 2050 is it's low, but it's a safe assumption, and we wanted to know what you objectively think. And also another note is that we do think it could be higher, but there needs to be also more work done. That's why we created this alliance to bring together industry. There is also need to bring attention to policymakers to this technology and so on. So that's why we are establishing this alliance, and why we want you to give us your opinion and your view on this. And that's it for me, Anna.
Okay, thank you, Evgenia. We have 10 minutes before we move to the next presentation. So we can ask our participants to give their opinion on these numbers. So if you're ready and have some thoughts, please speak up, but you also can post some responses in the chat. So do we have someone who would like to react to this question? So about the numbers of potential growth in 5G-THC?
There are some comments in the chat, Anna.
Yeah, I'm happy to expand on those comments if that works for someone.
Matt. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't looked at that much at other parts of Europe, but in the UK, a lot of housing that's currently heated by natural gas is either terraced or it's high, 4 stories or above. So the density of heat demand is very low, because they're insulated by the buildings next to them or above and below them, and yet the amount of option for putting things like air source heat pumps is also very tricky for obvious reasons. So we think that's the sweet spot that 5th generation or Kenzo with even ambient temperature distribution works, and that's where we think it has the most advantage. When we look at the UK housing surveys, that comes to around 50% of the UK stock is either in a terrace or in 4 stories or above. So that's where we think the potential lies. Yes, it's probably possible to do some of that with air source. Yes, it's probably possible to do some of that with central plant district heating, but the linear heat densities are well below what you would normally think of as being financially viable for 3rd or 4th generation. So yeah, we're pretty optimistic in the UK, and be interesting to see how that spins out into other European countries.
Thank you, Matt. Herman, I see your hand.
Yes, okay, let me give some input there. We also had a study in the Netherlands which was showing that about 50% of all dwellings could be connected to this kind of district heating and cooling systems. So then we are talking about a lot more than 15, at least 50. On the other hand, you can look at from 2 angles at this challenge, and the one angle is what do we need to achieve if we want to be carbon free in 2050? And then I think we talk about 50, 60, 70%, starting with the low-hanging fruit, and see what we can do after 15 and 20 years, getting to the higher-hanging fruit. The other one, and that's more what Jeroen did in his study, was a kind of practical view. So what can you achieve if you start building, if you get your permits, if you get your financing, if you get the things organized within the regulation framework? So what kind of steps could you make? And then I think the figures of Jeroen, 4% in 10 years and going up to 15% in 30 years are quite realistic. And that's also the question that we have in this industry alliance, do we see means, do we see ways that we could fasten up this process? What we need, if you want, if you really say, let's go for 30%. Okay, guys, how many products do we need? How many streets do we need to dig up? How much money do we need for that? How do we get that organized? And you are a partner in there. You are selling this product, so you should have a voice on that and ideas.
Thank you, Herman. I see also in our chat, so Mikhail, he mentioned about the biggest barrier in the market. Yeah, the position of well-funded big players like Danfoss and Longstore. Yeah, this is the market, but yeah, that's why in this industrial alliance, we are trying to help and support and match our demand and supply here also. So we will discuss it in later discussions also. Okay. And I see a question to Evgenia. So maybe you can respond in the chat.
Yeah, I agree with it.
Okay, perfect. And
Yes,
I have
that's correct. It was question was how the numbers were built for those percentages, and it was a combination of expert views on projections to 2050.
And I see maybe one last hand raised, Soren. Maybe we can give floor to you. Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to comment that in Denmark we have a very high degree of district heating of the 4th generation. I think we will top at 70, perhaps 74% 4th generation district heating, and we have estimated in the association I'm a chairman of that we could probably reach 20% coverage with 5th generation district heating, based upon the cases we have and the cities that are not well equipped for the 4th generation because the energy density is simply too low. They are quite adequate for the 5th generation.
Yeah. Thank you, Soren. Yeah, we had already discussion about that with you personally. Thanks for reacting on that. We will continue to be on time, and I would like to invite our special guest, Marko Wirtz, to present Enpro, the planning tool for district energy systems. We actually got a lot of questions from participants like, oh, I'm super new in this 5G. How can I start actually building that? So maybe this can help you to answer these questions. So Marko, yeah, floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Anna. So let me share my screen, my slides. So yeah, thank you that I can speak here today and talk about what I'm doing with Enpro, startup from Aachen University. So 2 sentences about myself. I was pretty active in the field of 5th generation district heating and cooling networks in the last 5 years. As a PhD student at Aachen University and did research and software development and so on for it. And now I founded this startup Enpro Energy, and I will talk a bit about what we offer. And it's like a software that we basically do. As I said, we are a spin-off of Aachen University, founded last year. And our main product is the planning tool, which should be easy to use also for people who are not so familiar with the concept of 5th generation, for example, and to enable them to have well-founded results in a pre-design phase, for example. We also have research projects with industry partners and university. We are always open for collaborations, of course, so don't hesitate to contact me if you see any collaborations. Currently, our software is in use by more than 20 companies, mostly in Germany, but also other European countries, Spain, Italy, and so on. And yeah, these are the early adopters, I would say, which use our software right now. So our tool is meant not only for 5th generation district heating and cooling networks. That's of course one important part because it was my PhD topic. So I need to integrate this part, of course, in the tool. But it's also possible to calculate other soft systems like district heating networks, like 3rd generation, 4th generation, district cooling, also hydrogen systems, and all kinds of hybrid energy systems. So where you have cross-sectoral energy flows. For example, also microgrids like with PV, battery, and heat pump or something. And I will show this later on. I will just show the tool in a live demo. Before I get there, I will just show this slide here, which some of you might know our study. We did a study on 5th generation heating networks in Germany as part of my PhD, actually. And we identified 53 networks in Germany, actually a few more. But we got data for 53 networks regarding network temperature, heat sources, pipe insulation, and so on. So technical data that we collected for them. You find the data in our publication. It's open access. And yeah, on the right-hand side, we created this map for all the networks that we found in Germany. And you see the heat sources. So the green dots are the geothermal driven 5th generation networks. That's the most common heat source, of course. And but you also see that there's a wide range of heat sources that can be used for 5th generation heat networks. Yeah, if you want to go into the details, you find also a lot of information on our website, enpro.energy, with all the data and some nice figures and so on. Have a look if you're interested. The next thing, yeah, I just want to show you our tool. It's also accessible via our website. You will find it on enpro.energy. There you find the official version that we offer right now as our product. But of course, we are developing it further. And today I want to show you our preview on the next version because we have many new features, especially for 5th generation district heating and cooling networks integrated into the tool, and still some new features will be integrated in the next weeks and months before we officially launch then our software. And then I will just try to share my web browser. So it's a web application, so it's no installation, so it should be easy. That's the main focus. It should be easy to use for people to plan their district. And you have a couple of options here on the main page. When you create a project, you can say, okay, we want to design a district energy system, but you could also design a single building, for example. That's new in the new tool version. And then you can choose from different energy supply concepts. So like a pre-selection. So you can say, okay, maybe you have a 4th generation heat network, maybe you have a 5th generation heat network, but also, and that's often relevant to compare it with a decentral solution. So what happens if we don't have a heat network and we want to compare it with air source heat pumps or ground source heat pumps in every building? Just want to show of course, the 5th generation heat network. I click on create project, and then we have different input pages. So the first one is a load profile. So the buildings that are in the district. Of course, that's very relevant for the efficiency of the network. So how much waste heat can we share between the buildings, for example. And then we can define actually the buildings. We have here 2 example buildings already added, like a supermarket, which has waste heat, of course, and residential buildings. And if you create a new project or create a new building, you can define like key parameters like the floor area, the building type. We have a large database with all kinds of building types and load profiles, and also demand data for all the locations. So if you don't have a good idea about the demands that you expect for example, for Berlin, Germany, and so on, for specific building type, then you can also insert these from our database directly. And then you basically define the most important settings for the building, like supply return temperature, the retrofit measures that you may have applied, and define the demands. So we have space heating, domestic hot water, and of course, 5th generation, for example, space cooling is also relevant. process cooling, like for a supermarket, and also the electricity with e-mobility and electricity demands in general. If we go into the fifth generation world, of course, we not only have demands, we also have a building energy system that we need to define. So we need to define, okay, which heat pump do we use in the building? And we can have a very rough estimation, like with a COP, like a constant number, but we can also go into the details and actually define our own heat pump with the data sheets that we have for management, and go into the details if we want to do that. So that's like the buildings that we have to add to the district, and then we get already some preliminary results, like what's the electricity demand for the decentral heat pumps, what's the waste heat recovery inside the buildings and between the buildings. So all these kinds of KPIs. And then on the next page, that's about the heat network itself. So we have to define what are the network temperatures. So for fifth generation, for example, approximately like 10 degrees, 2 degrees Celsius in the supply and return pipe, but we can be free to define this. And then we can also go into the details what's the network sections, about the network sections. So we can define different branches and sections of the network, and then have a look at what are the heat losses, for example, in the network. But of course, you see the minus here. So for fifth generation, we also have heat gains if we have a plastic pipe, for example. That's the heat network section. And then on the last page, we come to the Energy Hub page. So how do we actually supply the heat network? We have many different options. We will add also a few more in the next version. So we have geothermal energy, of course. We have an air source heat pump that we can use. The solar thermal, the normal conventional generation units, but also something like a heat source that can be waste heat or something similar. And then we can also set the parameters, of course. I don't have the time to show this, but then you will say, okay, size technologies, and then you get an estimation. What's the optimal configuration? Like how much photovoltaic should we install that matches with the geothermal energy, for example? And this, of course, the result here depends on the electricity supply price, on the feed-in tariff, on the load profiles, and so on. And this is all part of the optimization model. And actually, this was things that I also did in my PhD in Aachen University. When we have the design, like the pre-selection for the design, then we can go one step further and simulate the system. So we get results really on an hourly basis. When are the technologies operated? What are the energy flows, and so on. And then you get some visualizations about the total energy here on an annual basis, or also how does it look like in summer. So you can visualize all kinds of energy flows and create your own plots also to investigate, okay, where's the energy coming from? How much do we put in the battery? Maybe how's the system operated? You get a summary with all kinds of KPIs. So the most important ones for someone who is planning a district with fifth generation, like what's the share of photovoltaic, what's the self-sufficiency rate, how much heat do we need to import, and so on and so on. There's also an option to go into the details. You can download all the time series of the technologies as an Excel file and make your own analysis if you want to. And then there's one further page. You can go to the result page then and see like the economic results. So how does the district perform in an economic perspective? So taking into account the decentral heat pumps, the network itself, what are the costs for the heat network, and what is the cost for the electricity price, and so on and so on, and see what's the economic situation for this setup. And I have a few minutes left, so I can show you a new feature that we also recently integrated. So we can do a scenario comparison and see what happens if we exchange now the fifth generation heat network with a fourth generation heat network. And I just rename it here. So let's say we want to have a normal heat network as a comparison. Then we could also change the buildings, but I'd leave it for now. And then we change the temperatures and say now it's 70 degrees Celsius in the supply pipe, for example. And the software then will directly recognize, okay, now I don't need the decentral heat pumps anymore. I can just go with the direct heating of the building. And I will change the plastic pipe here, otherwise we have a lot of losses. And then go to the energy hub, and then we can just recalculate it again and have a new design. So the PV capacity might change if we have slightly different load profiles due to the heat losses, for example. And then we can simulate the system again and then go to the result page and then compare really directly, okay, what's going on with the fourth generation, what's going on with the fifth generation. So I will just load the scenario. So scenario 1 will be the fifth generation, and scenario the fourth generation. And here we see an overview like the costs of the fourth generation and the fifth generations, the emissions, and so on. Of course, this all depends on the parameters that you set in the cost parameters, especially that you set in the settings. But then you get an overview, okay, how are the different systems performing? And you could analyze, for example, what happens if I integrate a storage? How does the efficiency of the system change? All right, so that was what I wanted to show. We just go to the back to the presentation, but I don't have any more. So yeah, thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'm not sure if you have time right now, but maybe in the Q&A section, or write me an email if you want to know more about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. Actually, it's not advertisement, but I can tell I know personally people who is using the full version of this program, and they are very happy about that.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Maybe one question that I can take from the chat, because I have 3 minutes for that. So where does your building database come from? We have question from Charles.
Yes, that's a very good question. I get these questions many times, actually. So we collected from, actually, I would say from years, we collected data from German studies, from guidelines, and also from papers about all kinds of building types, and we try to put them in one database to have one common source. What we do not have is a very good overview. That would be great, like having all the numbers and all the sources of it next to each other. I would love to do that in the future to give it out information for the people, but we don't have this actually right now. But yeah, you can use the database and get the data if you want to. And if you have specific questions, approach me, and maybe I can look up where we get the values of one or other things. Yeah.
Thank you. I think there are actually a lot of questions for you in the chat, but we will not proceed with that. Herman, is it the same question that you posted in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe then Marco can just reply in the chat, and we will continue with our next speaker. So I would like to give floor to Geert Moermans, who is the project manager, thermal energy systems in Vito EnergyWheel, and he will present 5G best available technologies catalog. So now you can hear actually what technologies you can implement when you build 5G. Okay, Geert?
Yes, thank you. So I think maybe the previous presentation was a good example of new technologies popping up together with this 5G DHC developments. So within the D2Grids project, we have tried to assemble technologies can be beneficial for 5G networks, and we have collected them in a catalog which is called the Best Available Technologies Catalog. So I will just explain during my presentation what we have done in creating this catalog, but it's still a work in process as we could not collect all the technologies. So that's why we like to integrate this in this industrial alliance. And we like to reach out to the industry and give us feedback and how we can maybe more elaborate this technology catalog. So I'm working for Vito Energieville, as Anna already indicated. We are actually a research institute based in Flanders. And we aligned with other let's say companies and universities in something which is called Energieville. So actually we're in a building sitting together with other researchers from other companies, and we try to align our approach on tackling the upcoming problems in energy together. That's also the idea behind this alignment that we are trying to establish today. Let me just begin by it's a rough schematic on what the 5th generation network looks like. So we have actually some technical components. We have the network itself, we have the connections to the buildings, we have our different sources. So a lot of technologies, existing technologies, upcoming technologies are integrated in this full 5G DHC design. And we try to make an inventory of what exists, what's upcoming, and maybe we can all benefit from this. It was already touched upon briefly, but we have 5 core principles of this 5G DHC developed within the D2Grids project. I don't think I say something new when we say we try to close the energy loop, and we try to use low-graded sources as much as possible. It's decentralized, as Herman already indicated in his presentation, and we try to integrate the energy flows of different types, and we prefer to use local sources. So for now, how is the most, when we set up a project on developing a new district heating and cooling network, this is I think this is good practice for now. We have a feasibility study. When the result of this feasibility study is positive, we make like a master study. When this master study is done, we try to, or maybe this is already done in the master study, we try to mobilize local stakeholders, try to have some background on funding, and we have to make people aware of this network being installed. Then when everything, when funding is there, when the environment is good, let's say, we have detailed studies, so technologies are being worked out. And we have actually, for now, we have very specific solutions for every project. So every project is like tailor-made, which makes it quite expensive actually to develop projects, as some things will be done repeatedly, and maybe that's an idea to align forces there. The idea behind inventorizing these technologies is that maybe we can align our products. Now the developments are still not maybe it's not a collective operation. So everybody is developing their own products with their own benefits. There's not really an alignment between the industries, let's say. We can also benefit all from standardizing products. So for now, there's not really an incentive for standardizing. But maybe when we look at the numbers and market potentials, we can maybe have an idea on what's the benefit of standardizing our new products. That brings me to the next point, that there's an upcoming market potential, and there's a new market opening up for this 5G technology. And together with the standardization, this alignment of products, this upcoming market potential, I think we can, in the end, we can reduce costs by sharing all this information, and we can have an altogether gain in development and production of new technologies. as some examples, there are, for example, heat pumps developed, but yeah, we don't really align on these components. Just a small example is if we buy heat pumps, how to connect these heat pumps. They're not really standardized connections, for example. So maybe these small alignments can already have a large benefit in the development of new projects. We also develop our networks and we make very specific pipe diameters, but maybe we can also benefit from standardizing them. This will reduce the manufacturing costs. And maybe, yeah, maybe this manufacturing costs will be reduced, but maybe the efficiency by using other non-specific pipe diameters, maybe the efficiency of the whole network will reduce a little bit, but maybe that doesn't compensate. So I think there's potential in standardizing the pipe diameters as well. And then on the heat exchanger part, I think, yeah, it could be beneficial to have some fixed performances, let's say we use heat exchangers now also dimensioned for every project specifically, but maybe if we standardize those as well, we can have like a series of heat exchangers, which might be beneficial for the cost of the full project. The schematic that I showed in the beginning of my presentation, so as I indicated already, there's a lot of technologies involved there. We have technologies for storage, for the network, for the sources, but also some auxiliary types of technologies. And it would be great if we could collect them in somehow, and we have tried to do a first exercise in this best available technology catalog. So what do we want this catalog to contain? So mainly all interesting technologies that are preferably matching with our 5G DHC and which are already quite far in the development, so not really in the R&D stage, but they are implemented, for example, in the first project. So they have a TRL level of 7 up until 9. A first step that we took in the D2Grids project is that we set some technical parameters. But let me just, before I give an insight on how we set these parameters, let me first say that these are not limitive parameters. We only want to indicate that, yeah, it might be good to look at some technical parameters to indicate how well they perform within a 5G environment. So we looked at several type of pumps, heat exchangers, and we tried the geothermal. The list is there, so you can look at the technology list. So we try to have some indications of parameters where we can indicate these thresholds are good practice for 5G DHC or not. As I said before, it's indicative, so it's not limitive. These parameters, then we have contacted within D2Grids. We have 5 pilot sites, so maybe it's good to mention them as well. So we had they were distributed in Northwest Europe. So we have a pilot site at Paris-Saclay. We have one close to the main water project in Heerlen in a city called Brunsum. Then there's one in Germany on the Bochum side, and 2 in the UK, one in Glasgow and one in Plymouth. So we've collected information from them. So what technologies are implemented in these pilots, and these are already now in our overview. And we try to now approach the industry for other solutions which are not in the pilots. And then I think the best part will be to share information on this existing technology so other people who try to start up a new network can have an insight on this best available technologies, let's say. So we send out a questionnaire to the pilots, for example, where we ask specifically for their geothermal solution, piping, substation, storage, electricity. Maybe they have some control algorithms installed. And then we collected information on who was the contractor, who was selected. Can we have a contact name? Can we have a contact person, a name, telephone number, email, and so on? And then some specific product, which of the products of the manufacturer was selected, and some technical parameters. So we had, connected to the industry via our pilots. We only have, of course, I can sum up some companies who are installing some products at the pilot sites. So they have already been contacted, but we are looking, of course, to broaden our catalog much further. So I think maybe to have a conclusion on our best available technology catalog. So the idea is to share information and that we can all benefit from it by optimizing costs of production, but also costs for the network design in the end. And we would like to have a list of products that is used. Now it's mainly used at the pilots, but we want to expand them by having a list of products used throughout other 5G products networks. And we have, of course, we need some technical specifications so we can indicate how well they perform within a 5G environment. So we hope it will be integrated as the project of D2Grids is about to finish. We hope it can be integrated in a broader program. For now, I think we can publish it via our 5G DHC website, and I think the stress is on community building. I think I think we have to align forces and technologies to come to a great result in the end of building 5G DHC networks. So that was all for me, Nana.
Thank you, Geert. So if you have any questions to Geert, you can post in the chat and he can also respond on that, or just keep the questions till the end of Q&A session. So we are moving to our next very interesting activity. I will share my slide here. And actually, this is why we are all joined mostly here in this industrial alliance. So to network, and it's networking time. And within a couple of minutes, I'm going to, just break out us in the groups of maybe 4 people. And I would like each participant unmute yourself, introduce yourself and your organization, and respond to the question, what is your role in 5G DHC rollout? So why you joined this industrial alliance? Are you already building 5G DHC, or you are just trying to research it? Or maybe you would like to propose some products for our grid owners and operators and those who are building 5G DHC. So it's a very informal, in a small group interaction. So please join these groups. I will just break it automatically. Okay, and we will be back in 10 minutes. Okay, it's creating groups. Okay. It's actually time to ask questions. So if we have questions to all our speakers, but also maybe just to the group, because currently today we are quite a big group joined in this Industrial Alliance meeting. So please don't be shy, just pick up your question or post in the chat and we are happy to respond. So I saw also most of the questions in the chat that was dedicated to Marco. Super perfectly, they are responded already. Thank you, Marco. Good work. Okay. Any more questions? Maybe questions about Industrial Alliance or one of the speakers? No? No? Yeah, then while maybe you are thinking about the question, I would just yeah, ask you to react. Did you like such type of the meeting for this 5G Industrial Alliance? So you can just, yeah, maybe type in the chat, say, yeah, perfect, or say, no, we don't like such kind of meetings.
There is
Yeah.
also a comment in the chat, Anna, asking if we could we propose more specific thematics to discuss next time, or what is planned for the next steps.
Yeah, exactly. So we had at the beginning of this session Padlet form where we could text some information like the topics for the next meetings you are interested in. So we are trying to combine those topics and look for interesting speakers, but also to organize discussion. So we will try post in advance the program, but I would like just to remind that we will meet on a quarterly basis. So the next meeting will be in September. Okay. Herman, I see your hand.
Yes, please. Well, just from the networking, I had a small chat because my room was empty, but I still had a small chat about solar panels in Sweden. And I think it's good if we create some place where we collect product information. So now I'm interested, what kind of product do you have? How does it look like? Do you have some kind of leaflets or something that you could share in this group so that we can see what kind of products we are having together?
Herman, your sound is getting bad. No, not better.
Find some details about
Good, good.
Yes, there we find some details about contact persons, and if you want to get more information from them, how you go on. Another thing I was thinking about, because we have, like you said, quarterly, so we have like 2 more meetings within the D2Grids project. So who will pick up this initiative, carry it on after 2023?
Yeah, we can erase this question and maybe yeah, ask to think in advance. But currently, as you mentioned, 2 more meetings, yeah, we will organize within D2Grids project. Yeah. Geert, I'm looking at you. You know that I'm looking at you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we have to organize the next sessions, and maybe if then it's more clearer who can pick up this after the finish of the project. But I think we first have to align or make a first industrial alliance, and then we can see what we can do afterwards. But yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Herman, as you proposed, if you're interested to share some short information about or files, leaflets, you can post in this chat. You can send it to me. I can combine it and then distribute to all our participants, so everybody knows, like, yeah, some information about you and how they can contact you. So this is the way how we are going to network. Yeah. Perfect. Thanks. Any more questions?
Yeah, I was wondering, for the purpose of networking, we had like this small session, the small breakout groups, and I was wondering how are we gonna be sharing the emails of this group to everyone, so that people can also internally network within this group. I think that would be a good idea if everyone agrees and everyone is okay with like sharing a small contact list from this meeting or like Anna said, if you want to send her information, we can maybe have your name, your email, and some small information about your company or your work or anything you're working on, something like that. If
Yeah.
everyone's okay. If someone is not okay with that, maybe you can email Anna that you don't want to be included, and then that's how we can proceed.
I will keep it private, secret. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So perfect. Then I would, on this note, if there is no more questions and you were happy to participate in this kickoff meeting of 5G Industrial Alliance. So I will close this meeting and yeah, have a nice lunch in this very hot weather. So I think you will have something cool to drink. And yeah, please let's keep in touch and we will see you in September. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.